So hello and welcome to the Maths Guide, and this week we're going to be looking at predicting things in the future based on formulae. So you already know from formula how to use a formula to calculate a value. Let's have a look at an example of this for a gas bill. So let's say the monthly cost of a gas bill is 30 euros. That's the fixed cost, so then you pay that no matter how much gas you use. And also 5 cents per kilowatt hour, which is the variable cost, which depends on how much gas that you use. Okay, so let's just have a look at what this says. This says 0.05 euro, which is 5 cents per kilowatt hour. And remember, of course, when we looked at this in bills last week or the week before, cost per kilowatt hour is exactly the same. It's like when you say the cost per rose, and you calculate that just by multiplying. Let's have a look at an example. In this example, John used 300 kilowatt hours of gas this month, and we wanted to know what his bill was. So his bill was 30 euros. That's fixed. He has to pay that no matter what. Plus, plus 300 kilowatt hours multiplied by 0.05 euros per kilowatt hour, which is 30 euro plus 15 euro for a total of 45 euro. So that's just a basic formula. That's a formula, 30 plus the multiple or the number of kilowatt hours that he's having times 0.05. Okay, so this is your fixed cost and this is the multiple. So this is just a formula. Excuse me. This is just a formula. Okay. You put the values into your formula and you calculate for a particular answer. But let's say John had only 60 euro per month to spend and he wanted to know how much gas he was able to use that month. Well, you could work out one particular value and say that the answer to that formula was equal to 60 euro. So the 30 plus I'm going to say U for units, multiplied by 0.05 would be equal to the 60 euro that he had. Okay, let's have a look at solving this. We find that 0.05 times the number of units that we had was going to be equal to 30 euro. So we're going to multiply by 20 on both sides. And we get U is equal to 600 kilowatt hours. Okay, so we find out that John can use 600 kilowatt hours with the 60 euro that he has available in his budget for that month. But a lot of the time when we're predicting the future, or we want to think about different particular types of options, we want to know what all the different results are going to be for different amounts of units that you're going to use. So what we do then is we still have our formula. So we still have the formula, the 30 plus 0.05 times the number of units. This is the number of units that you use. That's still our formula. But we're going to look at all the different inputs that we can have. So we're going to look at, say, 10 kilowatt hours, 20 kilowatt hours, 30 kilowatt hours, 40 kilowatt hours, 50 kilowatt hours, and so on, maybe up to 300 kilowatt hours. So we have a big list of inputs into this formula. And of course, for every input that we put into the formula, we're going to have an output as well. The result, our calculation of the formula. So if you use 10 kilowatt hours, we know it's going to be 30 plus 0.05 times 10, and that's going to give us 30.5. If you use 20 kilowatt hours, that's going to be 31. If we use 30, it's going to be 31.5. If we use 40, it's going to be 32. Still just using this formula the whole time. Okay, I'll just point that out to you. 32, it comes from 30 plus 0.05 times by 40 equals 30 plus 2. That's where I get the 32. So we have an input, the 40 kilowatt hours. We have our formula, and we have the output, 32, and this is in euro, and the input is in kilowatt hours. So we're thinking of a list of inputs and a list of outputs. And when we have a whole list of inputs and a whole list of outputs, we can actually draw a picture of that, which I'll explain later. But you get this picture and it shows you something like this. This is your output, your cost. This is your input, the kilowatt hours. Okay, don't worry about the picture for the moment, but the idea I want you to get is that you have a formula, you have a list of inputs and you have a list of outputs, and then we can look at any particular output that we have. We can look at the output 60 and say, okay, that means I can use 600 kilowatt hours. So maybe this isn't going to go up to 300, maybe this is going to go up to 1,000 or maybe 2,000. That's something that you have to decide later, but we'll have a look at some of those. Okay, there's the idea. We have a formula for some particular thing, like a gas bill, usually with a fixed cost and a variable cost. That gives us our formula. We want to know all the possible outputs or results of the formula for all the possible inputs. So that's what we're going to be doing this week. This is a nice messy page. But that's the basic idea. So we're going to be looking at sets of inputs into a formula, giving us sets of outputs. So sets is the maths word that we use for a big list. This collection of things that we have here, all the things that we're going to put in and all the possible outputs that we're going to have. Okay, so that's what we're doing this week. There's no exercise today, but just have a little think about that, and we'll start tomorrow. We're going to have a look at how we describe sets of inputs and describe sets of outputs. But this is what we're going to be doing this week. Okay, all the best.